Chapter. This is 10 steps not to forget after installing Drupal. My name is Corey Gillum. I work for Knoxville Internet up in Knoxville, Tennessee. I am a senior project manager over there. Been working there for a little over a year. I got started with Drupal back in the Drupal 6 days. Place where I was working, they needed someone to do their website. I knew basic HTML, so I just crammed every single bit I could learn into my head, and I found Drupal. And I have not been able to get away from it since. I love it. It is one of my favorite CMS frameworks, as I've heard it called. I've heard it called that Drupal is a framework that you turn into a CMS for your clients, and it makes it that much more flexible. If anybody wants to, my Twitter hashtag is up here. Just gotta let you know, I rarely check Twitter. I'm a little bit leery of social media. I don't have much time to spend on there, and I know if I get hooked on it, I'm not gonna have time to do the stuff I need to do, but you're more than welcome to post stuff for me there. And they're gonna jam the whole time we're here. So if anybody remembers Phineas and Ferb, so that is, can anybody hear me over that? I think it's on. Let me see, is there volume control? There is no volume control. Okay. Basically, the 10 steps that people tend to forget about. Is that good? Okay. Just straight out of the box, Drupal is very flexible, but it does come at a cost. You do have to install modules to add features to it. And there's other things that need to be set in the background just so that way it works for what you need it to do. And people are in such a hurry to get those things done, they tend to overlook the little things. And what we're going to go over in this is basically view settings, node settings, the editor experiences sites, stuff like this. One of the things that you're going to be able to walk away from this with is to know the post-Drupal installation steps, find out the configurations needed to visit before you launch, and just understand the basic building blocks of Drupal. There are things and reasons why we forget. This next slide, I will find out who the nerds are in here. Some of those reasons are not obvious. Okay, I got one Doctor Who fan in here, 2, 3. People, you're busy, you have a big workload, you got to get things done, and shortcuts are habits, so that way you can get things done quickly. You have a boss that will just throw something out at you that you weren't expecting. There are reasons why the process gets interrupted and you just forget where you left off and you don't go back for some reason. Whatever that reason is, it happens. First thing, how many people love the default 7 admin theme? It's the most awesome theme in the world, isn't it? There are other themes that make your administration easier. Rubik right now is one of my favorites. I haven't found one better than that, but there are some. Cube is basically Rubik, but in a smaller area. You can also see that these are mostly in beta. Shiny is out, actually a real, full, ready to go one. And then there's some others that are in alpha and development. Another module that needs to be installed is the module filter. Show you this real quick. If we go over here to the modules page, everybody knows the default module layout. But if we come down here and we turn on the module filter, it's under the other tab. How many people have got this one already installed? A few people. How many people want to go back to using Drupal without it? Not any. This module basically reorganizes your module's page layout to where you actually have a filter up at the top. You can type in the name and it will filter down. It's got all your categories on the left, so that way you can choose that category and it filters only the ones that fall under it. It is one of the most useful modules I have seen. And that will take a long time to reload because we are in the middle of this presentation. Backup and migrate, who uses that one? Can you imagine not using it? How many times have you had your site hacked or you lost all your data and you needed your backup modules? Backup and migrate now has another add-on module that you can use to where you can back up your database on a scheduled rotation, but you can also store those backups natively with the backup migrate module on your server. You can have them emailed to you, and now you can actually have them sent to your Dropbox location. So now you can have them in 3 different places. That way you have them spread out and you don't have to worry about not having a backup of your database. You can also, if you are in a hurry and you need just to get a backup right now, you can go to the administration page and tell backup and migrate, I want to do a backup and migrate now. Oh, real quick. This is the module filter layout now. You can see your groups over here on the left. You have your filter. You can filter down by if they're enabled or not. And then you get, by default, straight when you come to the page, a full list of all your modules. You see how much faster and easier that would be? So you saw how hard I had a hard time getting to that. Now if I just do that, it filters down to what I started typing in. But let me go over here to the backup migrate module real quick. It's under Systems, Backup and Migrate. Right here on this page right here, I have the option of backing up the main database and downloading it right now. That way I can have a local copy immediately, so that way if I need to move this site from this server to another server, I can do that quickly. If you have one that you need to bring back, just go over here to the restore, browse for the file, upload it, and you can restore your database immediately. It's just that easy. Here's a few of the images of some of the admin themes. This is where I'm bouncing back and forth so that way I can confuse the crap out of everybody, so that way everybody goes, oh, that was awesome, I didn't understand a thing. So this is Cube, Stanley, Amber. Next one. How many people love the default toolbar that comes with Drupal? Most awesome non-drop down menu ever, huh? Admin menu versus the toolbar. The admin menu gives you all those nice drop downs that everybody loves, so that way you can just tunnel straight to where you need to be. So I always recommend that you uninstall the toolbar or just turn it off, install the admin menu toolbar and the styles and the shortcuts and go from there. How many people love the overlay? No hands? The overlay takes up a lot of room. It gives you a lot of overhead. The one benefit of the overlay is when you are done editing something, it takes you right back to where you were before. It's a toss-up whether or not you want that functionality or feature for yourself. Myself, I have gotten into the habit of turning the overlay off. It's not worth it for me because I know what I want. I want the screen and real estate when I'm editing in the admin section. How many people know how to change your memory limit and your max file size in your PHP INI? 5, 6 people. This is something that you'll have to do eventually. By default, this memory limit is really set too low. 256 is almost the bare minimum that you need. If you can throw more memory at it, fine. But you need to learn how to get into your PHP INI file or have a system administrator that can get in there and change that for you. Okay, site information. Whenever you're setting up your development server, your site email address, this is where all the stuff, hey, you got new updates are going to be sent. If you want that on your live server, go ahead. If not, put it to an email address that can be a catch-all. You can just set up, hey, site info dot whatever or at whatever. Front page, how many people just go in just when you create your first, whenever you get your install done, you create that first node so that way you can use it as the home page? Nobody? Node 1 is one of the best nodes to have as your home page. You don't have to use it. Some people will override it using views. But node 1 is great to have just for your home page, just in case you decide to use it. How many people have set up their 404 and 403 errors? Let's see, show you where to set those up at. Let's see, this is just a default blah Drupal installation. I'll give the 1 or 2 Doctor Who fans in here fun. You're not allowed in here. Don't blink. But to change these, to set those, create your page, come into the system, go to site information, and down here you can set up which page you want to use for your front page, your 403, and your 404. A lot of these things are just things that we forget along the way. We're going to get back to them, and life happens. So with the 404 and the 403 errors, just have some fun with it. How many people recognize this artwork? I can do it. I can do it 5 times. Got your amigos. We found them. This is not the page you are looking for. And if all else, tell them where to go to find your page. User settings. Do you want them to be able to use a default or use a photo in their profile? If so, set up a default photo if they don't want to put one in, or if they forget to, or life happens to them and they don't get around to doing it. Set up a way for them to do emails. Profile fields versus profile 2. With Drupal 7, you can actually go in and add fields to your user profiles. Drupal 6, we could not do this. You had to use outside modules to do this. Profiles 2 has been depreciated, so keep that in mind. Logging in and logging out. People log in. Do you want them just to drop right onto their user profile page, or do you want them to land somewhere else? It's a personal site preference. What does your clients need? What do you need? You can use rules to say, hey, when someone logs in, redirect them to this page. You can use other modules like login toboggan, login destination. You can decide where they go once they've logged in. Go ahead and create your basic roles that you're going to need for the site. You don't have to go in and do all the permissions right now, but getting this initial setup done gets most of the work done. You can always fine-tune it as you go along. Go ahead and set up some default permissions. If you know this role here is going to have permission to create these pages and edit their own, go ahead and throw those permissions on those. Content authoring. CK Editor, I believe, is actually now in Drupal core for 8. So we won't have to have this problem once Drupal 8 is out, but right now you get full HTML, filtered HTML, and then just plain text. How many of your clients know HTML? How many of them want to learn HTML so that way they can add stuff? CK Editor, Tiny MCE, you could do whichever ones you want. There are modules for the CK Editor that you can do. You just throw them in place, turn them on, they're ready to go. Myself, I like the WYSIWYG module because I can install whichever editor I want. If my client wants Tiny MCE, I can put Tiny MCE. If they want CK Editor, I can put it in. I put it in the libraries folder under the sites all. You just create another folder called libraries. You put your library files in that folder. WYSIWYG finds them. If you have a problem or you don't know where these library files are, down here under admin config content WYSIWYG, underneath the save button, you have the instructions on where you can go and where to put these files on your site. Once you have them in place, WYSIWYG knows you have these libraries available, and now up here at the top, you can assign them to your text filters. While you're here, make sure that you go in and set these up. All the buttons are turned off by default when you first install them. As you can see, even though I have this set to a filter, they don't get anything. They just get the basic bottom text area with no way of doing anything. So you can go in here and set these up to show whichever buttons you want. You can give your users permission to use these filters on a filter by filter basis. You can set up more than one using the CK editor, and you give them just the bold, italic, underline, and give certain users that permission to use that. You can set up another one where you give them everything, and you give a certain role to use that one. You can set these up however you need to, and give them the functionality and abilities to do what you want them to have. You can also, if you use the media module, so that way they can add images or files to their sites through the WYSIWYG, you will actually have a way of setting it up here to where they'll get a button in their WYSIWYG area. What's another image module that they can use to install images? Was it IMCE? You can actually, it will work in here also. And you can give them permission to do that from here. As you can see, these are all the filters I have so far on this site. You go over to Admin Config Content WYSIWYG under Configuration. Let's see, where is it? Content Authoring. Text Format's the one I want to do next. Here you can add a new one. You go back to the previous page and you tell it which filter to use on it. The order that they show up here in this list is what they will show up underneath your text areas. So if you want CK Editor to be your default, just move it up to the top. It's got the little drag and drop arrows over here on the right, on the left, my other right. Save your changes, and then whatever the top one will be your default, and then they'll go in the same order they are here. Does anybody have any questions so far? Okay, my babbling is that confusing. Yay. Okay, content authoring is, like I said on the last slide, it can be a whole thing just by itself. Just the settings and the way you can set it up. Just so many things that you can go over. People who are a lot more boring than me will go into detail and just drone on and on about it. But just make sure that you set all the settings, go through all these pages here. And just remember, your users will paste from Word, no matter how many times you tell them not to. They love it. They don't care that Word is going to mess up their content. It's your fault. So make sure that you go in and check that paste from Word feature. And be prepared. They're going to want to install images. They're going to want to do a bunch of things. Just look into it, read the documentation, and be prepared for it. But have fun with it. Nodes. You know you're going to have some node content types. Map them out ahead of time. That way you can just get in there, create them, get them set up, and you can move from there. Just remember, whenever you create a new content type, showing the author and the date is turned on by default. How many people love that? That your brand new, fresh website, all the people who are going to go there know that the admin created that content. And they know they created it 2 years ago when you started the site. Or when someone else started it and they handed it off to you and now you have to finish it. Go into the content type and turn those off. Let's see, structure, content type. We'll just look at the basic page here. Down here, display settings, display author and information. If you do not want them to show, turn them off. While we're here, comments. Everything that you create, if these are open, will have comments turned on. Everybody in the world that comes to your site will say, hey, this is not the best thing in the world, I don't like it. They will come and they will put ads on your page. If you don't want the comments, turn them off. There's other settings where you can set whether or not people can make comments, if they have to be logged in, whatever. Just if you don't want the comments at all, just turn them off. Drupal, straight out of the box, has article and basic page. If you don't want them on those pages, just go into the content types, edit them. Comments, again, this is another subject that can be a whole presentation by itself. Some people want comments, some people don't. It's up between you and your clients, whether they are needed or not. But if you do leave them on, believe me, you need some type of spam control. Maul them, CAPTCHA, whatever. Because we had a site, went live, someone forgot to turn the comments off. The next day we had 16,000 ads for some medication that nobody in the office really needed or would admit they needed. And you have to go in and remove them. Clients don't like it when they have ads for medications people don't want. What was your question? Hidden. Okay, the question is here, comments, settings, open, closed, and hidden. Open means people can make the comments. Closed means that the comments that are already there stay there, but people can still read them, but no more can be added. Hidden means they will never be seen. Does that answer the question? And if this is a brand new site and there are no comments and you choose hidden or closed, they'll never see them. Does that answer it? Basically the same thing if there's no comments. Anything else? Okay. Yeah, you can turn them back on. Path Auto. This is the module that will change the path in your URL. So if you have a content type boats, you can have your site name .com/boats and then the title of this page. You can set these paths up using tokens. It's under Configure, Search, and Metadata, URL alias, and patterns. And as you can see, the basic page here is set up to be content/node title. The replacement patterns that you can find to find these tokens are listed down here. The tokens are the little tags inside of the square brackets. And there is a bunch of stuff in here, and the more stuff you add to the site, the more options you have. But it does need to be based on this content type. You don't get to choose the phone number from another content type if it's not part of here. Whenever you save the page, Drupal will go down and find all this information. Another reason for the Path Auto and all this being turned on is this does help your SEO. SEO makes it easier for your search engines to find you. It makes it human readable because we don't know what site.com/153-29 is, but we do know what site.com/boats. We have an idea of what we're going to find here. And it helps your drill down in your menu system look a little bit better. The search engines will figure this out. They will understand, hey, this is about boats. The content matches the URL. So, view settings. How many people are happy? Views is in core in Drupal 8. No more having to download views and all this. It's right there. Went to the session earlier about Drupal 8, and one of the cool things is every page in Drupal 8 is driven by views now. So that's a really cool feature to look forward to. But installing views, you will be required to use Views UI to actually create the views. The Views UI module gives the interface between the admin and actually creating the views. Without Views UI, you can't make any changes to them. You can't add any new ones. I'll get to it later, but whenever you go to make your site live, you can turn Views UI off, and it's not going to hurt anything. It will just prevent your users or your end users from being able to get in there and make any changes. How many people have launched a site with Views UI on and your client calls you up, hey, this page quit working. I was in there playing with views, I made some changes, I didn't know what I was doing, I deleted everything. Okay. Views, when you first install it, come with some pre-configured possibilities. You can just turn them on, go with them. They have a homepage one in there, which I believe actually does work really well. They have a few others. Modules will actually install some pre-configured views for you. Just check them out, see what they do. And see if they are already pre-done, and all you have to do is just turn them on or make some modifications to them, heck, part of your work's already done for you. Views 2, and then we switched over to Views 3. All of a sudden, the SQL statement down at the bottom of the page disappeared. How many people know in Views 3 how to turn that back on? How many people want to turn it back on or have the ability to? Some people, they love it, they want it. So you go into Views, you go over here down to the bottom, you see the Settings tab. And now you can turn your filters on, you can make your master display always show. How many people were upset when the master display disappeared? All of a sudden, the very first view you created, that's your master, but nothing tells you that. So now you can actually show your master display again, and then all the views that are created off of it will go to the side. All of the hard stuff about views has now been hidden in that little drop down on the right side under Advanced. You have to click on it, make it drop down. This here will actually make it to wherever you go to your view, that will be open by default now. So it's just one less click you have to do. And then you can just go down through here and show all this. You can turn your SQL statements back on. You can show your performance status. And then you can have other queries run during the live preview. It's just things that you can turn back on or turn off as you want them. Another thing that I've started doing is when I create a view, especially for a very large site, you forget which view is creating this, you forget which content type this is being pulled from. Add an edit link to your views. For each piece of content it's pulling, you can have an edit link, you can change the styling on it so that way you can put CSS there, and you can move it around and have it anywhere on there you want, and all you have to do is click edit, and it pulls up that piece of content in the edit mode. It's real simple, doesn't take long, it doesn't take up much space, and you can style it however you want. It's just another little easy thing. You don't have to dig through the content area to try to find that piece of content. Whenever you create, this actually goes for nodes, I think I skipped this note, but nodes, views, anything you create that has a description field, make sure you fill out that description. How many people love doing that? It's awesome. I'll come back later and I'll do it because I want the perfect description for this. 2 months later, you come back to add something or change something. Okay, what does this do? I forgot to come back and do the description. Put something in there to say what this does. You can always come back later and change it, so that way if you actually do come around to doing that perfect description, your OCD finally kicks in and kicks you over to the admin section. Ooh, I need to get this perfect description in here. I finally got it. Just do something right now, right when you're creating it. That way you have that little reminder, because things happen. Perfect description, most of the time, never comes, never gets put in place. Sorting your results in views. By default, I believe it's by creation date. Sometimes it's not the most Sometimes it's okay, but for the most time, it's alphabetical is a good thing. Untitled, or you might want to put the stuff that is published first, or something. Look and see what fits the situation the best. Another one is the draggable views module. It gives you the ability to where you can actually give your users, your end users, the ability to drag and drop them. Not the people who come visit the site, but your clients. They can drag and drop these things and put them in whatever order they want. So if they feel this is more important than that, they can drag it up, save it, and then your view will follow that logic. Last year, Doug Vaughn did a very good session on that. So if you can find the video for Drupal Camp 2012, look up that video. He actually has 2 modules that he's talking about in there. Submit, reset, auto submit. It's part of your jQuery stuff. If you have any exposed filters, make sure that you have those in there, because if someone's drilled down in, they've done a filter, it's not quite obvious to them that they have to go back to get a filter if they want to do it again. The reset will bring them right back to the beginning. Auto submit, remember this is a little bit confusing because you do 1 letter or 2 letters, or you have a space between letters, it will submit, and then all of a sudden you've got results, and what you're trying to look for won't come up. Ajax, caching, theming information, these are all things that are underneath the advanced tab. Look into those. Caching is almost a requirement now. We got so many modules, we got so many rules, we got so much stuff going on in the background. Caching blocks and things that don't change a lot just speeds the site up that little bit more. Image systems or image settings, public versus private, this will come up. Just because Drupal tries to put files that are private in a hard to reach location does not stop Google from finding them. Your clients have very sensitive information that they put in there. They think it's private because it's hidden or it's not easy to get to, and then all of a sudden a Google search is bringing it up and showing it to everybody. Those people don't want those photos shown. That was just a private thing they wanted to send to their friends in a comment. Image styles. You can set up preset determinations of what size these files show up in. It's under media, configuration media, image styles. Drupal has 3 by default, thumbnail, medium, and large. You can add a new one just by clicking on add new. Give it whatever name. I do recommend you give it a name that is descriptive. How many people would be able to come to this site? If you, I just hired you to work for my company, and I give you this site, and I tell you, go do something, and you see this name on this here. How many people know what that is going to do? All it says is BNJ_300. The default ones, they actually say 100 by 200 or 300 by 400. If you give it a descriptive name, you'll be able to figure out what it does later. Something like, and I cannot spell, so I'm sorry. I will misspell something eventually. Okay, if you saw that name, would you be able to have some idea of what it's meant for? So we go down here a little bit further. Screen size does make this a little bit more difficult, but down here we add from a list of things, different things we can do to this image as it's uploaded. Most used is usually scale and crop. It'll scale it down to the first dimension that it can, and anything that's outside those boundaries it'll crop off. So if the photo is 200 or 500 by 700, it'll scale it down to 200 and cut it off at 3. And I don't remember, I believe it's from the center out. So the top and bottom will be cut off, which is usually one of those dope moments because the head is usually at the top. So people will be cut off at the nose. So just click Update Style. Drupal, when you add an image to the system, will create an image file for each of these sizes So that way, whenever you use these sizes in, say, your display area or in a view, it has those images actually to pull from. It doesn't have to go get the image every time and modify it. It saves a new file for it. How many people know where those files are saved? Anybody? Okay. While you're in this area, just go ahead and get your dates set up. Drupal has a long list of date formats. Hardly any of them are useful here in the US. Just how many people love the year in the front of the month and the day and the time in 24-hour format. That list is long, but they are not an end-all. So you can go in there, php.net manual/en/function.date.php. Easy way to get there is just go to your Google search bar, type in php space date. This page will give you all of your codes for your dates. That'll be one of your favorite pages whenever you need to do these. Okay, we're coming up on the end. Configurations for mail, modules like SMTP, messages and notification module, subscriptions and mail rules. These are almost a given. If you can move the functions of sending mail to a different server, it's going to make your site still faster. Because if you got 300 people on your site wanting to send emails out at the same time, I'm talking about large sites, and then all of a sudden 1,500 people come in and want to see a page. If your email being sent is on a different server, it's going to free up those resources for the people who want to see the pages. Services like MailChimp, Constant Contact. There are modules. I know one of these, at least one of these has a module. So you can set up rules. If you have it set up to where someone can, if you have the comments turned on because your client wants them and they want to be notified when the comment is set up or the comment is added, you can actually set up a rule to where they get an email. Hey, check your email, someone's spamming you, or check and see if you want to release this comment on the world. Performance, caching for anonymous people. It's just going to speed your site up. Aggregating your JavaScript and your CSS files, again, just speeds it up. Caching on the server, stuff like Varnish or Memcache. It's just that little bit more speed getting the content to your end users. Things for pre-launch. Remember, disabled Devel module. Views UI if you feel like it or if you want to. That's a good one that you can just turn off. It's just something else that's not running whenever you're in the admin area. And turning off login errors. How many times have you gone to a site and all of a sudden right in the middle of the page up at the top, warning, PDO error, or there's something not right here, this module wants this thing and it's not getting it properly. We're going to expose your pictures to everybody. Just make it to where it sends any PDF or PHP errors to your log file on your server. Your end users do not need to see them. It just opens up security risks and holes in your site that they can exploit. Security, revisit your permissions. Go through your roles, go through the permissions for each role. Make sure that each role only has the permissions they need. The ones that are very dangerous have the warning on them, but some of them don't. Make sure they need that permission before you give it to them. Check your file permissions. You don't want any of your folders on your server to be right for people who are not allowed to. Another module, we just found out about this one this morning during one of the sessions today, is security review. You turn that on, you go to the admin section under reports, you run this, and it will give you a list, just like your modules update page, of things that are good and things that are not so good. Good ones will be in green, the bad ones will be in red. And there'll be a link over on the right side to help you turn the red ones to green ones, because we want to go live and we want to get this thing moving, so that way we can be paid for upkeep and updates and hosting. You can add SSL and security pages. Look into that more. You can get more information on Drupal.org. Under the documentation, restricting content. Remember, security by obscurity does not work with search engines. Google will find that picture of your client that he meant for his friend. And then they get mad at you because you let that picture get out. So, solutions, remember that access control modules, some of these modules that are basically restricting access to content, some of them will bump heads. They will fight for each other over dominance. Just make sure and test these things. Make sure which one is working. Read the documentation. Visit the issue queue on Drupal.org. Remember to check your private files. Make sure that they are private. Next steps after this, installation profile, Bear. I have not used it myself, but I've heard that it works really well. It has a lot of these settings pre-configured. You can build your own install profile where you get the site set up the way you want it. Drush make, I believe, is the command, and it will create this profile for you, and every time you install, this stuff will be pre-set up for you. This is the address to where you can get more information if you want to build your own profile installation. Any questions? Okay, you're either very confused or I was better than I thought I was going to be. Yay me. Yes. They will be. I'll post them on the Drupal Camp Atlanta site. Yes. Mm-hmm. Okay, let me see the let's see. I'm trying to visualize the question. Let's see. The question is fields that you have posted. You go to look at the content. Mm-hmm. Now, is that specifically to that field or to that whole node? To the field. Unless you're using a module like content access or field access, I don't think so. Does anybody else have an answer to that? Content access? Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, check out the access control module. You can do a field by field permission on those. It will require you to go into your settings and set a private folder, so that way Drupal itself will be responsible for serving up the files that are in that folder instead of having the server do it. Any other questions? Well, if there's no other questions, thank you for coming. This room is half full, and it makes me really happy. Yeah. Oh, before you go, here's some other places that you can look into for more information. All of these are great. I love lynda.com. They're the ones that showed me Drupal. So, and other thing, group photo on the main staircase. Please don't leave before you wait for that photo. We need everybody in it. because we love everybody. So.